Started with Chevrolet, but I started as a co-op student. Unique scenario where I actually had the opportunity to attend school for 5 years, but during that period of time, work 3 years with Chevrolet. So when I graduated in 1975, I actually had 3 years of true real-world work experience under my belt. I left Chevrolet in 1978 to go to work for Jeep as a vehicle development engineer. I started in manufacturing, good background, but not where my heart was. I wanted to get into the product. I wanted to be close to the actual vehicles. So that's when I had the opportunity to jump ship to Jeep. I did that and became a vehicle development engineer. Had some great opportunities to learn from some very talented individuals that, if you go into the automotive world, they are very well known. Staying with AMC, I actually had an opportunity to take over the manager of engineering for Renault Jeep Sport. Renault Jeep Sport was a performance motorsports activity for AMC and Jeep. Renault had purchased AMC at that point in time, and they had brought their motorsports activities into the program. But we had an opportunity to develop for the Sports Car Club of America, the largest amateur, not largest professional, but largest amateur racing organization in the nation. And there was a vehicle that they wanted for a little single seat sports racer. But all of them would be the same. And we had the opportunity to develop that for them, and it has now become the second most popular class that's out there. I changed in 1986. Renault lost their funding. They pulled it away from AMC. Things changed. My job had to change. I didn't like where they put me. I left and went to work for Chrysler in 1986. And I stayed with Chrysler through 2005. Had a variety of activities. The biggest thing was they were looking for somebody to develop steering columns for Chrysler at that time. And it was a very fortunate scenario that got me into it. But it's actually where my patent and a lot of my working experience came from on the design side. Left in 2005 and started this business, TypeG Engineered Development, working with individuals and small businesses in 2006. Some of the products that I've done are a variety of steering columns. General Motors would not sell Chrysler a column which would support steering airbags at that point in time. They had a few on Chrysler products, on their Cadillacs, but not enough to support the entire industry. They wouldn't give them to us, so we had to develop our own. And that's where we got into it. Got into a variety of patents. Some of the other projects that I worked on, theft prevention for European applications. Transfer case, I got to know transfer cases inside and out and better than I ever wanted to. Got real familiar with clutch systems, powertrain systems on the Jeep products. Gear shift mechanisms on the Chrysler Pacifica. It's actually out there on the road right now. And while I was with Renault Jeep Sport, we developed a little one-man lift system for the sport racer that would lift it by one person. Put it up in the air, you could change tires, work on it, and then take her back down. So what is product development? That's really the whole basis of what it is that we're attempting to do here. And so I went out and found what Entrepreneur magazine calls their definition for product development. Everybody can read it, I'm sure, but the things that I want to really capture on this one is what they're talking about with some of the keywords. Strategy, organization, concept generation, the product and marketing plan creation and evolution, and then the commercialization of the new product. It's really the whole thing from start to end. That's what they're really talking about when you get into product development. So, what are the two essential factors that you need for that process to be successful? Well, the first one is you really do need to have a plan. Many people have heard this before, that you need to have a plan. But it's more important than anything else to have an idea where it is you're going. So you start with the idea itself. That's the easy part. The hard part is, how do I get there? And the second part of that is commit to working that plan. If you create the plan and don't follow it, it's nothing more than a map that's sitting on the wall, but you haven't seen anything. And that's really what this is all about, is not only creating the plan, but then how are you going to work it? And what is it going to take to move that along? So now we're going to get into a little bit of what the steps that we're going to cover tonight. And this is the first one, or what I call the 5 parts to product commercialization. It's on your sheet, but these are the overall structure that product development captures. And this is basically the generation and capturing of the ideas, what comes to your mind, but what you do with them to capture them. The second part of it is evaluating those ideas. An unevaluated idea is perhaps foolish for you to move forward, and you really want to decide what makes sense for moving forward. The third one is protecting the product. Is this something that is worthy of protection and needs of protection? Depending on what you're doing, you may not. But in many cases, if you have something that's novel and unique, you very likely want to at least get credit for that idea and make sure that nobody else takes it from you while it's legitimately yours. The fourth one is finalizing the product. After you've made all the preliminary steps, finalizing that product, making it actually happen, bringing the product into a working form. It's no longer just the idea, it might be just more than a sketch on paper. Now you actually generate the parts and product itself. And the last one is marketing your product. Now I'll be real honest with you, I'm going to touch on marketing. Gaston College, through their small business seminar, has a 3-session series of classes on marketing. Take the classes. They're free just like this one. Yes, it'll involve you coming back 3 weeks in a row, but you will learn more from that person on what to do than what I'm going to share with you tonight. I'm just going to kind of gloss over some of the considerations that you might want to have. So, as I mentioned, the first part of it is capturing those ideas, generating the ideas. I have what I call the 4 Ds. And it's just a very simple methodology where you dream it, you document it, you discuss it, and then you decide what you're going to do. You decision it. You're either going to do it or you're going to drop it. Next one that we're going to cover, that we're going to go over, is the 6 stages of product development. And this is basically walking you through having the concept on paper where you first started in the first place. The second one is actually developing a model. You might utilize techniques that your kids have used. You might use modeling clay. You might take your popsicle sticks and glue and start putting things together. You can be, and I'll give you a little bit of a functional example tonight as we're going through this, how you might involve those steps. The third one is once you've made the decision and actually are getting serious about it, is to produce a digital model. And we'll talk about that just a little bit tonight. This is one of the bigger changes that have occurred in the last 20 years, and this is we're in the age of the computer. And the computer simulation allows us to do things that would have cost us a lot of time and a lot of money in the past, that now you literally can do things in hours that would have taken weeks or months previous. Once you have it digitally modeled, that allows and sets you up for the next step is actually producing a rapid prototype, and that's where the time factors come in. This allows you to investigate iterations on a much quicker basis. You can go through 5, 6, 7 design iterations in the period of a month, whereas before it might have taken you 2 years. And these are changes that I've seen in the auto industry that have taken place. It's in the aerospace, it's in the medical device industry, it's all being disseminated throughout all of the industries nowadays. Once you've gotten past the prototype aspect, then you get into the production. This is where, if you decide to move to this level, you're really getting serious about it. You may have to get into it from a low volume standpoint. That might be the thing that you need to create the traction on the product, be able to show that there is a market out there. It's at this point, when you start selling product, that you can start approaching bankers for looking for financial assistance. But bankers aren't in the business of lending money, they're in the business of making money. They want to make sure that their investments are secure. So they want it backed up, but more importantly, when it comes to a new product, they want to see that it has a little bit of a track record before they jump on to the ship with you. And lastly is high volume. This is what you see when it comes into Walmart, Kmart. These are the high volumes. When you start, the basic dividing line between sort of low volume and high volume, the basic number that the industry utilizes is 10,000, just as an arbitrary number. But the last, as I say, the break between low volume and high volume is basically about 10,000. Once you go over 10,000, a lot of the tooling that you've put in place for the low volume will not support higher volume applications. So you have to change your mindset on what you're going to do. But the beauty of it is you've been able to demonstrate product, and this is where you can go back to the banks and say, hey, I've got this, but I need this money to move me to the next level. But I've got the market already demonstrated that I can sell it and I can move it. The next part are the 3 elements that you need to complete that project. And it basically, Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits, this is really in the lead-in, where he talks about the generation of a habit. And you really have to have 3 basic items in order to get there. The first one is skill, and that's having the necessary resources available for you in order to move forward. The second one is having the knowledge. Whether it's from yourself, from someone else, this is where you may likely bring in someone else that can help leverage your capabilities. And the last one is the desire. You have to be committed to this process in order for it to move forward. And it's only when those 3 elements together come together, or is what they call the nexus. When that nexus is created, that's when you have the items that will allow you to complete your project. The last aspect is the marketing, and this is assessing your market feasibility. And these are just some of the basic questions that we want to look at, but it all centers around your client. Who is your client, and why would they even want to buy from you? What is it about this product that would make them want to give up their money and give it to you? You need to assess that, and financial aspects there in place in order for it to become a reality.